Okay, we are this morning talking about 3.8A. We had which is summarizing the data set with multiple categories using frequency tables, dot plots, pictographs, and etc. So you guys did a DOL. Actually, back up. We had the IPC calendar piece of it, and pick this specific DOL because this is the end of 3.8A. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So based on what you have turned in, I know that you have 2 DOLs because you went ahead and retaught it already. Even though the DOL was yesterday. Explain to me if the original DOL was yesterday, how did we get to
The reteach.
the reteach? Yes. Explain to me what was going on.
Okay, so I noticed when I gave and when I passed out the DOL sheet to my kids that the way that the questions were being asked on the DOL was not how they were being asked on our assignment, and that was throwing them off. So on the DOL, it's A says 20 more students chose tacos as their favorite item than chose salad, and they had to choose true or false, and then they had to justify their answer. And that's not the way that we had practiced during the guided group or in their independent work.
Okay.
So when they got to the DOL, they were not understanding how to answer this question.
Okay. Were you seeing the same thing?
Yes. Most of them, they did do the work, but they would still go back and circle A, B, C, or D, like if they were answer choices, even though it wasn't asking them which of the following is the answer. So there were several that bubbled in an answer, but they still justified the reasoning.
Bubbled in on what?
Right, no, like.
Oh, I see what you mean. They weren't just reading it as interpretation of the graph. They were reading it as
Like
a
which
question
one is the
with
correct
answer
one?
choices.
Yes.
Oh, well,
So.
but there's true and false. So
Right.
So I had Mrs. Kehoe come in and kind of talked with her about, okay, what can we do? Because clearly the questioning part is what they're having a problem with. So we looked at how are they being questioned on these graphs on STAR? And so we took a STAR question from there. We added another one that was similar to what we had done during our lesson.
Okay.
And then I retaught it. So I said, when we're looking at pictographs, because that was what we did yesterday, remember, we're going over steps. So the first thing we do is we look at the key. We circle the key, we see how much each picture is worth. So then we go in and we label how each picture and how much it's worth. Then we put the total amount. So I went step by step and retaught exactly what I did in our small group and for the mini lesson.
Okay.
And then I gave another one really quick after lunch.
Okay.
So I think I'm seeing a lot more of what we did during our mini lesson on the reteach part. So I had one get both of them right. I had several that got one out of the 2 questions correct. So, and there were less questions on what is this asking me? I'm not understanding what to do. So that piece, the questioning piece, they were understanding what the question was asking.
Okay. Then when I was looking over these, just the first one, yes. How are they on their labeling? Because I know we had a big discussion about the labeling to make sure that they are understanding the values of each of the representations of the hearts on there.
So most of them are labeling, but their skip counting is what is off.
Because this is by 8s.
Okay.
So that's, and even Ms. Kehoe said that's pretty high for them to know, like, how to skip count. But I mean, they can add, like, I see the totals, and I mean, they're not, I mean, some of them are off, but a lot of them are correct. But I think that was something that she had mentioned as well, was that normally they don't have to skip count that high.
Okay. So then, if we're working on, because I remember us talking about labeling being a huge part
Yes.
of it, looking at just the top half of, yes, what the graph piece of it, separate them in between like high, mediums, and lows, just based
Just
off
on-
of,
based on the
just based off your
Labeling,
labeling.
and like, did they label?
And then label it correctly,
Okay.
yes. Compare, and with your teacher exemplar, if that's the way, if that's how you're comparing it.
See, they labeled it, but they're off by, so let's see.
Okay, now then, off of your know and show chart, identify your gap that you see.
Wouldn't be this, scaled intervals?
Yes.
Because they're struggling
From
with that
one to
skip
the next,
counting
right.
piece, so they're
Okay.
not understand, like, they're getting that each one is 8. Oh, skip
Skip
counting,
counting.
right here, okay.
Skip counting.
Skip counting,
Oh, which one do we not, is that purple or is that
I think
pink?
it might be the same one.
Okay, is that the same one?
I think so.
Yes.
Here, we need to differentiate that we're adding on to it. There we go. All right, do y'all see any, with the skip counting?
Mhm.
And the the scaled interval is not the same thing?
It's
No,
our bar graph.
It's on a bar graph, the
Okay.
scaled intervals is on the bar graph, but they're
They were
still
having-
gonna have to,
Well, they were having problems with that yesterday.
right.
Oh, yeah.
In your class
Mhm.
yesterday. I didn't see it you weren't doing bar graphs the way she was doing
Mm-hmm.
in there yesterday. Okay, so then for skip counting then, why are y'all saying skip counting?
Because they're understanding that it's 8,
Mm-hmm.
but they're off. They're somewhere along them adding onto it.
Mhm.
They're getting off.
Right. So they just go from like 8, 16, 24, 32 to 48,
Yeah.
56. So they just skip some or they just add wrong.
Okay. Then, if it's that piece of it based on your teacher model, is there a different way to attack those picture representations?
Well, today I did give them morning work based on a pictogram,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had them label 888, and then on the side I had them add everything,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and that helped.
Yes, that's what I was noticing in your class
Mhm.
yesterday. They were understanding that it was 2 that was being represented, but by the time they added it all up, they didn't get to whatever the total was. So how could your teacher exemplar change based on what you just said?
So we would just take hamburgers and just add 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, or multiply,
Well,
because
yeah,
there are
I've
some
even been
kids
doing
that
multiplying.
are able to just
Okay.
multiply it.
Yeah, so I did some of that yesterday too.
But if it's a student work that we're trying to do, we have to do 2 at a time.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
And they are also still getting confused by the half image.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, and now then you have your addition piece on there, and you said that you're working with multiplication. What would that look like for if you had the student write it out for the multiplication side of it?
So it would be 8 times 5 for the
1, 2,
hamburgers.
3, 4.
Okay.
Yeah. And then plus 4.
And then the plus the half image, just 44.
Okay. All right. So, would you then do a guided model or a think aloud or guided discourse using student work?
Using the student work.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and write one of those out then. Y'all toss me
Doesn't
one.
matter.
It doesn't matter which. Well, I mean,
Do you
if
want
you,
a high or low?
actually, I thought let's talk about that real
Okay.
quick. What student model do y'all want to put up there?
I would,
Because remember you're
choose-
comparing
choose
to your teacher exemplar.
Right.
Right.
so I would choose one that actually added on the side,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
even actually
See,
did it
maybe like-
correctly. So like, for example, she was able to add on to the side. She did her addition on the side,
Okay.
and she took that and put it on her graph.
Okay.
So she represented it both ways.
Okay. Okay.
So I feel like this is a good example.
Are you
For
trying
the-
to show the errors in the student work, or what?
A different way.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
To
Like
add.
to add. So because I don't know if pointing out the errors is going to help them. I don't know.
Right, so maybe, for example, this student that just wrote the numbers, she skip counted
Yes.
on the images.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She did 8, 16, 24, and she skipped one and she got the total wrong.
Okay.
She might be able to see hers. Like, oh wait, she just went ahead and added it on the side, and then
Okay.
she put the total over here
Okay.
to make sure
Yeah.
it was right.
Okay. Okay.
Because this one did both. This one added and put like the totals inside the hearts instead of saying 8, 8, 8, 8.
Okay.
So maybe if I took this one and said, okay, 8 plus 8 is 16. So then I would do work out here and say, okay, so 16 plus 8. So I would keep going with that
Okay.
to make sure that, okay, is it 32? Okay, it is. So I could put that in there. So I think I would use that one too, like something like that.
That's closer to your teacher
yes,
exemplar.
And because I did like have my addition on the side, so something that looks like that.
Okay. While you get to that point, while we're on this point, I guess, if that is the skip counting of labeling, where's identifying parts of that one right there of labeling the graph. At some point, we need to talk about summarizing it and summarize, because if they are having issues labeling it, they're not going to be able to summarize correctly
Right.
from the graph.
Right.
So let's go ahead and do your reteach model for the guided discourse. I can't think. The
Okay.
guided discourse.
So we're just writing it on here, right?
You can type it on your.
Okay.
You can whichever's quickest
Oh, okay.
for
Okay.
you. And remember that the guided discourse is more student-led than teacher-led. So it's thinking about your questions that you're asking for while you're comparing the two the two models. Ornament's not cooperating.
This bracelet.
y'all get out of here? Time to go.
11:05.
Okay. Good? Okay. Do y'all want the whiteboard or do y'all want to do it on this one here? Which one y'all?
I don't care.
I
Oh,
Not
well,
make that
whichever,
over
okay,
here.
right.
For next semester, we're getting like those individual whiteboards,
Oh.
so we don't have to keep using our paper. We can start, we can do it on that right there. Okay, who wants to go first? Who wants to do their piece?
What are we writing out? Just how we're.
How
gonna-
you're, yes.
Okay.
Yes, like if you have to do any demonstrations, how you would do it in front of the kids. You might not need this, because if
Okay.
you've got that, putting those under the kid document camera,
Mhm.
just whatever you're gonna use, you can just lay it on the white paper as well.
Okay. So this would be my exemplar.
Okay,
And
that's the student exemplar?
student exemplar.
Okay,
Yes, and then this would be my reteach student.
okay,
So I would start by telling them that this is the student exemplar that successfully completed the DOL using the strategies we have been using in class.
okay,
I would give them a couple, maybe a minute to look over their own work
okay,
to try to identify any differentiation between theirs and the exemplar.
okay,
And then I would ask them, what do they notice? To focus on the labels and how they are similar. How
okay,
did this student label their information as compared to theirs?
okay,
And just give them a few minutes, and I would like to guide them towards focusing on the legend, which they circled, and she did circle, but she had to go back and do it after we went over it.
okay,
The labels, she got her total, wrote it to the side. She did too, on some of it. And then I would ask, can you go ahead and point to the legend? What does the legend represent? Well, it represents 8 students.
okay,
Were you aware of it before you started? And we would just have that discussion. So every heart represents 8 students. Do you see other images besides the full heart? And she would say, yes, I see a piece of the heart or half of the heart.
okay,
Then I would ask her, did you label it as just half? Or did you just keep skip counting?
mm-hmm,
Then she would look at hers and compare it to the exemplar.
okay,
She did not. And she would say, yes, it is half. So I would move on to figuring out how to identify half of it. So it would be, if a full heart is 8 students, what would be half? If we split those 8 students into 2 groups, one half and the other half, what would you have for just half? And we would figure out that it's 4, and we would need to label 44 as a total instead of just continuing to skip count
okay.
by 8s.
Go ahead, finish.
Okay, and then I would move on to focusing on each category independently and having them focus on how the exemplar actually added to the side to make sure that they were adding, and not just adding all the numbers together, but adding 2 numbers at a time instead of just skip counting.
Okay.
And they did not.
Okay.
So they would be able to notice that
Okay.
pretty quickly. And they might just say, oh, well, they added to the side. And I would bring it to their attention that they're adding 2 numbers at a time instead of adding 8, 8, 8, 8, 8 to where they'll still be making the same mistake as skip counting it correctly.
Okay.
And then to make sure that they did write the total of what they got at the end. Okay, yeah, and then just their totals on the end. And
Okay.
that would be it for labeling.
Since we're seeing that skip counting at the high levels of 8s, that's pretty tough.
Right.
You already had them labeling skip counting inside the hearts, right? If that's already tough, what does your teacher exemplar look like? Did you skip count?
I did.
Okay.
So I think I would have to take it back and just represent the 8s and the 4s.
Yes, and let
Because
the exactly.
confusing them.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what I focused on too, because this student like was skip counting inside the hearts, and that's where they got messed up. So for mine, I was going to write, okay, we're doing 8 plus 8.
Right.
We're doing 8 plus 8 first. And then I even have in mind, because I told them a while, like on one of the other activities and TEKs that we were teaching, was like when you add it, you cross it out so that you don't go back to it. So that's kind of what I put in my direction too. So like, okay, 8 plus 8, okay, I'm marking out 2 hearts now. Okay, so then I'm adding a 3rd heart. So plus 8 more.
Does your teacher, do you need to, would going back and redoing a teacher exemplar, would that help with this piece of it?
I think
and
so,
then,
yeah.
okay, good.
Because we would focus on,
Because
I would
for
personally
us,
stop skip counting
Yes.
in the
yeah,
hearts.
Yes.
and I
Yes.
didn't skip count, but I also didn't like cross them out or anything like that might help them not get lost when they're trying to add all these numbers up.
Okay. Do you think then, going back and doing this and not skip counting with each pictorial representation in there, that you are just putting the number, because that might have also thrown off their half as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Because if they were getting to 42 or whatever,
Yeah.
that, okay, for half of 42, and they're thinking that I've got a half 42.
Right.
Yeah.
So to have it labeled where it's just the number of representation in
So that
whatever the
way
key says.
It would be 8 all across, and that would be 4.
Yes.
And we were
Yeah.
able to know that, okay, they do know what half of 8 is.
Yes. Because I'm thinking with going into the true and false piece down here, that if they had a true understanding of what was being represented in those hearts or for those hearts, it's just reading the sentence alone would be a little bit more clear, because they are not they're it seems like they're more focused on the skip counting piece than they're actually of what the hearts are representing on the chart. So that could have been a little bit of the issue too, with them not understanding the summarizing piece on here, or not the summarizing, but the justification of A, B, C, and D on there. Because on your other DOLs, they got it.
Right.
Yes.
They know how to answer the questions.
No, like they were
Yes, but they understand the vocabulary of more.
Yes.
How much did April and June? How much did they understood it on that piece right there. But this being a much higher level of justification, that if they were taught in this manner of the true and false statements of maybe what do you notice based off of your teacher exemplar, what do you notice about June and July? What do you notice about have them making their own comparisons of true and false? That piece might have been a little bit easier to do. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes.
Okay. I love doing this with you guys because you get it. You're not intimidated by the reteach piece of it, and you see your you see the gaps in how you
Well,
taught
and-
them versus
And that's
this.
something
Yeah,
that we
we were
talked about,
talked-
like, right
yeah.
after we did this.
Mhm.
It was like, man, like, I wish we would have, like, thought more about, like, these questions
Mhm.
and how
Mhm.
they're being asked
Mhm.
in the lesson, because we just kind of threw this at them, and, like, and it was after we were like, we did not ask them the
Mhm.
questions
in
like
that in that
this.
format, right?
And
in
so
the IPC, we knew that it was going to be a little challenging.
Mhm.
That's why we took out 2
Those
questions.
two.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
we
yes.
didn't.
I don't think, yeah,
We weren't able to
there was
process
that
that
disconnect
they were
Mhm.
going to struggle with something else.
with this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we'll make adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So next semester, you guys will get a whole new calendar.
Mhm.
We're
Yes.
moving all again to Wednesdays, and you will get your 6-week calendar on January 7th. So we'll have an IPC vetting on Monday. That's
Mhm.
our PLC
Uh-oh.
time. Is that Monday?
Okay.
And then we'll have a weekly data meeting over a DOL that you guys want to do for the
Okay.
next Wednesday.
Okay.
And the next Wednesday we'll do IPC, and the next Wednesday we'll do weekly data meetings, and we'll get it all situated and
Okay.
straightened out. Okay?
All right.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Nope. Excellent job.